Welcome back to Society Case Files. Today I'm going to build a Lictor. I'm going on this big Tyrannid craze because we're getting ready to do some boarding actions, and we only needed a few of the Tyrannid in order to make that happen. This character actually presented some serious challenge, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. For the most part, it's going to be a sped up video, and much of it was fairly easy, but I want to talk about the foot. Specifically the little hoof that goes on the leg. So before I get into that, I just want to say there are multiple builds here. As you see, you can actually do 3 different poses for him. And I kind of went for the one where he's crouching forward. It just seemed a little bit more appropriate since we're going to do boarding action rather than him standing up and then he would tower over the walls. But he'll still tower over the walls, honestly. Anyway, back to that foot. As you can see, I've got the foot here. And you can kind of see where it goes. You're going to put it up against that side there. And the piece is super, super tiny. And I just dropped it there, but it actually gets a lot worse. This video I actually recorded over multiple sessions. And that's because at one point I dropped the foot on the floor and it ended up in the carpet. Now it bounced pretty darn good, and I literally couldn't find it. It was so frustrating. I looked all over the place. I was down there crawling around like someone who lost a contact, and I literally just could not find it. So I walked away, and I started to worry. I'm like, is it in my shoelace? Did it get stuck in my pant cuff? Is it in my shirt? I mean, it's that small, and it could have been anywhere. So I was kind of nervous to leave the room because I didn't want it to fall off of me onto the ground outside in the dark since it was kind of late. And so I finally just said, well, it can't be on me. Hopefully I, shook myself off as well as I could. And I went inside, and then I had my wife help me, and we searched everywhere and we couldn't find it in there either. So then I'm inside and I'm thinking about my area, and the current area where I'm building is a Secret Labs desk. It's one of those big metal desks, and so there's not a whole lot underneath it. It's just basically 4 legs. The legs on each side have a bar that goes between them to offer some support, and that's it. It's super simple. So it's not like there's drawers and everything else. However, I was keeping an amplifier under there. I've got a big 15-inch speaker amplifier that was under there. And I just had this strange feeling. It had been about an hour since I lost the piece. And so I went out and I pushed it forward, and there was the piece. It had somehow bounced and got underneath the corner of the amp. And I mean, again, this thing is super tiny, and both feet have them. And speaking of which, there are other Tyrannid that have these as well. So it's very important to find a way to keep hold of those, or make sure you've got something down underneath your table. So if it does get dropped, you'll find it. But however you manage to not lose the piece the way I did, just be mindful that that cut into my time big time. And speaking of, I mean, I didn't immediately build it either. I actually took several days off and just said, I'll let that one slide for now and come back to it. And then I finally did. As you can see, we're doing the video now. And then the harder bit being getting that darn thing into place probably took me, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I don't know why. Maybe it was just a mental block, and maybe it is tricky, but just be mindful of how it connects and do your best with it. The Tyrannids have a lot of the little piece I'm putting on there right now, these little sort of claw hook things that go into various parts of the little guy. So those are just, in some cases, they are actually the same thing. So you'll get multiple number 10s and multiple number 9s. And getting them in place is really a matter of paying attention to the diagram that they provide. In some cases, they're terrible, and you're going to have to do your best guess. But for the most part, they do sort of show which direction they should be facing. So do your best to pay attention to that. And I do show mine at the very end so you can see what he looks like from all angles, and maybe that will help as well. But as you can see, I'm building the next hoof. This one I did not drop on the ground, and I got a lot luckier with putting it together. I just slapped it on, and look at that, it just worked. It was kind of insane. As you can see, it was important to put those things aside and let them dry properly because there's just too many little fiddly parts to mess with. And there are some other things you can do while you wait. You can build the center mass of the character, which honestly didn't make a whole lot of sense the way they did it. You've got these little balls that go inside of the parts, but they are completely obscured once you've created them. And I'm not sure why it had to go like that. I didn't really see a whole lot of purpose to it. It was almost like they thought maybe it needed to be anatomically correct, but I don't know. Whatever the case, that part wasn't too difficult to build his little torso for the most part. It did take some finagling to figure out exactly how it went in. But anyway, that's probably all I really need to say about the Lictor. And just to reiterate, it's being mindful about the hooves because they were very difficult for me to get on and they're very easy to lose because they're so tiny. Be mindful of the little claws. They are very tiny, and when you get them on, you want to give them a moment or two to properly dry. I'd say even a minute, maybe, if you can, if you're that patient. I'm usually not, but, do your best. And then finally, just take your time and really pay attention to the diagram. And I think that in the end, you'll have a pretty good time making this guy. Also, I did just think of one more thing. The piece of terrain that his back foot goes on, I found that to be a little bit challenging. It wasn't crazy, but I did have a hard time getting it to connect in a way that lined up with the other foot. So take your time and really dry fit that. It'll be much easier to dry fit it if you let the foot dry first, which I don't think I did. But if that foot is dry and very well connected to the leg, then when you put that piece of terrain on, you shouldn't have any trouble and you'll avoid the problem that I faced. But anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to allow music to play through the rest of this video because there's quite a bit left, and then I will come back at the end. Thanks. And there you have it. The Lictor is done. As you can see, he looks pretty good to me. All around, I've got some cleanup to do on him once he's fully dry, but I think he'll be a pretty fun model to paint and prepare. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And if there are other models you'd like to see built, feel free to leave a comment and let me know. I will see about making that happen. But anyway, that's it for this time. Thanks again. Bye now.